Hello, my name is Dr. Kathryn Garforth from Garforth Education, and this is the Right to Read Initiative. Today, I have the honor of being joined by Dr. Maria Murray, president of the Reading League, and today we're going to learn about her story. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Murray. How are you?
I am excited to be here. Thank you, new friend. And I appreciate you wanting to hear my story.
Thank you. Well, I always like to start out from the beginning. When did you know that you wanted to get into education?
I really didn't know I wanted to get into education. I was always a little envious of people who say, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I knew that I loved reading. I knew that I loved history, so I got a history major. And what do you do with that? I decided to turn that into teaching about history, so social studies. And quickly, I'm fast forwarding, that turned right into, oh my goodness, my students, these students can't do the work because they can't read. And I have admitted this before, and it's painful to admit it, but I didn't understand the underlying causes of what would lead to such a thing. So I blamed what most people will do, say like, well, they don't care, their parents don't care, so boy, do they care, right?
Mhm.
Everyone cares.
Most
So
definitely.
I learned there was a thing, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Kathryn, called learning disabilities and dyslexia. Those things never entered my preparation as a teacher. So I went to get a master's degree, and that was my first dive into education, really into it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, well, it's kind of scary to think that during many teachers' pre-service training, they don't get the exposure that they need to understand what it
no,
takes to learn to read.
no.
And that it's not a natural process. I mean, it sounds like you're one of the people that reading probably came pretty easy,
Yeah,
and you likely don't remember learning how to read.
right. The only people who seem to remember are those who had difficulty doing it. And the others, it feels like a miracle and natural, but it's anything but. So we have that's hard for people to understand and buy into. It's hard for people to understand and buy into a lot of the things we need them to do, like understand
Slow
how
down.
pervasive it is, understand the ramifications of the social and emotional ones for the individual, the lifetime consequences for the individual and our society as a whole. And by the way, hello to Canada and thank you for always being our friend here in the US. Just have to get that in there. I feel better now.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking and alarming
mhm.
considering the prevalence
Yes,
we
like,
have of learning disabilities. And I mean, dyslexia and reading disabilities are not the only one, but
mhm,
I remember in the 90s talking about dyslexia, and it was, okay, do you mean like dyslexia as the overarching term for all of learning disabilities? Or are
mhm,
we talking specifically about a reading disability because of
mhm,
just how things are done? And then recognizing the subtleties
mhm.
and the differences between individuals with a learning disability. And
Like what you're talking about, Catherine, is even way above what we want. Like just that it exists, what it isn't. And can I just jump into another topic, like hop a little bit into something that,
this is your story.
oh, well, um, you're just so easy to talk to. But how is it then in the field of education, which is theoretically where we disseminate knowledge and honor knowledge and learning and multiple ways of knowing, how is it that something so dear to educators, literacy, wouldn't wouldn't raise it like to be anything we can to make it better? And oh, there's this thing called dyslexia, or all that you're talking about. We better make sure our educators know about that. It's just galling to me. And it was for a very, very, very long time. So part of my story is a deep frustration bordering on anger, which propelled, and then that's probably how most businesses or organizations start, right? Somebody's like, this isn't good enough. This, I can do it better. I can make a better t-shirt or better car or whatever. Or, we've got to band together and do something, which was the case of the founders of the Reading League. So thank gosh I had this little brain blip that it literally came out of nowhere to say, wait, Maria, you aren't alone. All your years of feeling, why is no one listening? Why does no one understand? Why does no one want to make change? And whose job is it? Who's going to do it? Because I would say, well, we published this article after working 4 years, 7 years on this randomized control study, by the way, which I did with my advisor, Dr. Benita Blackman, for 18 years. I coordinated her intervention studies. Um, uh, all this all from all these departments that are now closed in the United States. Wild. But I would say, well, who's reading the article other than other scientists? How do we get it to the teachers? And my answer from her and from everyone else was, it's not our job. Whose job is it? It's not even, I'm giggling. I shouldn't be giggling. But so, yeah, a lot of, we're hurting kids, and I'm not going to tolerate that anymore, was the clarion call.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the truth. And I remember in my teacher education program, I mean, being a dyslexic and walking a different path than most pre-service teachers, it's something that I was very aware of. And where when I went to school, it was very much a balanced literacy, kids will learn how to read naturally situation. And I kept on saying, but what about the dyslexics and the kids that don't? Oh, don't worry about it. They'll go to special education and it'll be the resources teachers concern. I'm like, but
Oh boy, no, no, no.
that's what your beginning teachers are going to be. They're going to be the resource teachers because that's the only position that they can get a contract right now.
Or it was just reading recovery and helping 4 kids a day.
Uh,
Helping, if helping. Yeah,
I
so
I am a unrecovered reading
yeah.
recovery soul, as
Mm.
well as someone who hooked on phonics did not work for. I
Oh
have
God,
my
all the good
own
old days. All
bias.
the good old days. So man.
Okay, so beginning when you're teaching history and recognizing that the kids are coming to you without the skills that they need, are there a couple students that stand out still that are the ones that are like, okay, well, something's not right here. And it's not that they're not trying. It's not that they haven't been read to at home. There has to be something else.
Oh, I knew right away that it was something else as soon as I called Syracuse University. I literally called the education school and had, I feel like I must have had it on a piece of paper to remember the words learning disabilities, because they just were like two random words. It's silly, they're not random, but at the time they were new words to me, a new phrase. So I said, do you have a master's degree program with this? And they said, yeah. So I landed right in the on the shoulder of someone really doing the work and a reading scientist. So I really got to see right away what the issue was and know that through the ensuing semesters and years, what was really happening in the schools was diametrically opposed to what was best practice. And then I had to take other classes, right? And you have to, check this semester off and this semester off and sit there and listen and go, but I don't know, I am learning this. Well, I'm learning what not to do in this instance. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. And
But it's
um,
part of the journey that is not often acknowledged. What
yeah,
I think
yeah,
is important to recognize, even though that we are going to these, university institutions that are accredited and are supposed to be helping us on our journey, supporting our students, not all of them are sending the right message and in line with what should be done based on the research. And in my opinion, that's part of the problem because it's the tenured professors that are making the decisions about new hires. They're the ones
yeah,
making the decisions about who's getting funding for research at the graduate level,
yeah,
and they're the gatekeepers.
yeah.
So
And
if
that's why it stayed so locked down.
Mhm.
And some people will say, well, do you think it was willful that this body of knowledge that's based on a scientifically researched um, way of knowing has been left out completely, absent for a very long time? Um, or was it because that body of research, for the most part, came from departments and universities that were outside of schools of education, so there was no overlap? Yeah, we have a defining guide, this little purple book, but it's also available as a free download. And one of our calls to excuse me, one of our calls to action for schools of education was I'm going to read it, to align coursework with the science of reading and foster interdisciplinary collaboration between professors of education and professors of cognitive psychology, neuroscience, speech and language studies, linguistics, and related fields.
and
So, and if, yeah, because that body,
that's
you guess what?
oh,
These exhausted reading scientists who are even more exhausted these days, who are doing the work because they know it will help children succeed in literacy, are doing it for teachers, right? Pretty much for the people sitting in front of a student, no matter young or old. So it's kind of important that we connect the two. So that's what TRL was founded to do, was to be a knowledge broker, to get what the reading scientists discovered and put it in digestible bits and programs like a journal or like a conference or all the other things dozens of things we do, and help teachers have access to it. So,
and it's definitely needed, but I find it alarming how much push there is against it.
mhm.
And
Well,
uh,
it's
in Canada,
coming. It's coming.
it's definitely
It's
coming. You
hard to
guys
be
are doing
patient.
amazing, fantastic work, and I'm so glad you came into existence.
So's
Uh,
my mom.
yes. Uh, but again, the disconnect between research and practice is infuriating, and it's not like this is new knowledge.
Oh, it's so not new. It's
And
70 years of, I mean, if we had, okay, yeah. But I guess, well, I'm letting go, because in the last 10 years, 10 years, so much has happened, and the momentum is so big. Is that a right word? No, it's so impressive, the momentum, that I have to believe that that
Are making a difference.
combined with the stories of success here, everywhere in the
Yeah.
US, here, full states, individual districts, and so forth, legislation, publishers really doing a great job changing and adapting and their stuff to be more aligned with what we know is best. But I have to believe that we're going to get to a tipping point really soon where people would, like, it's going to be the norm in many classrooms, in many schools, in many higher ed prep, thank God, teacher prep programs. And, then it'll be a supply and demand thing. And I hope in another 10 years, the Reading League can be one of the rare things, a nonprofit that works itself out of needing to exist. It
And
would,
that's
that
fantastic.
is my dream. And that's very rare, but I think it's possible. I think we can achieve that.
Well, I think there's always going to be some individuals that need the more intense intervention,
But yep, yep,
but it's going to be the exception and not the rule.
yes,
And
yes,
there's always going to be ways to better comprehension.
yep. Oh, yes. We're never going to be
And
done.
so it's not its current role will hopefully lessen. Well, it will lessen,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean that there aren't many great and wonderful things that the student body of the future can experience and
I,
recognize uh, the increased focus on comprehension and ability to have this
and
vast amount of
writing
knowledge.
and assessments will be meaningful and valid and effective and diagnostic. And I just, I'm thinking right now, Catherine, we should put a pin in this talk and make a note to check back on it in 10 years. Want to do a reunion podcast? You
Yeah.
think you'll still be doing this? And we'll see how
Oh,
our
I don't think my
crystal
time
ball
is going
line.
anywhere.
So yeah, this will be our um, time capsule.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you started doing this research. So did you always have your foot still in academia, even when back
Yeah.
you've done the hoops, you've got the letters behind the name?
Yeah, the master's, when as soon as I finished it, Dr. Blackman said, "So there's this study happening. Do you want to stay on?" Yes. I had just gotten pregnant right after my master's too, so I wasn't gonna go right back into teaching anyway. So, so that was the study. I don't know if you're familiar with the book Overcoming Dyslexia, the Shaywitz book. Those students and that book was that study that those children in it. You're looking on your shelf.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just
I
ordered
can
one.
see mine right over there, and it is so tattered. It's got I wish I had it within arm's reach. I would love to show you something, but so those kids in that book are our children from Syracuse University study.
Mhm.
And I came into that amazing work and presented on it all over the place. I coordinated the 11-year longitudinal follow-up of those kids as they entered adulthood. The mean follow-up study at the time was 18 months, and we did 11 years. And in that 11-year span, this thing called cell phones came into being. So even reaching those kids, families and neighbors to find them again was really fun. I did it using MySpace. What does that date it? Uh, Hi, I hope you remember being in second grade and going down to, Yale University and getting your brain scan done. We'd like to find you. Oh, you're in Texas or North Carolina or Colorado now. Oh my God, good times. So yeah, I had the research bug and I thought I want to do this. I want to be a researcher. That was the plan. So I went home one day and said to my husband, I think I want to get my PhD. And he just turned to, he was in a swivel chair and he's like, ah, you could see he painted on a supportive face with fear behind the eyes. But yeah, he was great. He helped that happen. And so by then I was like getting the maybe I don't want it. That was when I was like, who's reading them? I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong. They're helping the field. But I, um, other studies we did involved saying, well, the researcher can do it. How about how does it look like in a real classroom? So that, oh, those were really juicy times for me because working with teachers and training them and seeing them do an even better job than I could have done or anyone could have done in the research field, adding their art of teaching to it. And, but then again, what happens when the study's done? I always use a visual of you put your box of things in the trunk and leave these districts, and then balanced literacy washes back in like, oh, and why was no one in central offices of these districts saying, wait, this is what we need to do? Those kids all learn to read in that school. So you can, and then I tutored at home for 8 years. My kitchen counter was a tutoring center. And that it irked me because I used it to put my kids to school, but because I wasn't making money as an academic, that's for sure. But I thought, my gosh, who's bringing me checks? People that have privilege. And
Mhm.
that hurt my heart. And these parents shouldn't even be giving me this money, you know?
Yep.
This
Well,
is,
it's the curse, right? You have this knowledge, the amount of time, effort, and money it took you to get it,
Mhm.
what in another profession would have been pocket change.
Yeah.
Um, and like I know the battle
Yeah,
and
I know you
the
know it.
frustration, but when I remember, working with some students and not being paid much. And then knowing the parent when I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm sorry, I need to ask for a little bit more.
Mhm.
They'd be paying more for a haircut than for one-on-one tutoring intervention for
A
their
half hour with my son's guitar teacher
yeah.
was more than I was making for an hour of teaching someone to read, which I didn't, it wasn't about the money. It was, to me, the issue was that child should have learned to read, should be t learning this in school. I shouldn't be needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Free and
Yeah.
appropriate public education.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and recognizing all the fantastic individuals that have come before us in this system to try that have tried to make it better,
Yeah. Yeah.
the roadblocks that they have faced, and the resilience that they'd have had not to give up. Thinking of things like the National Reading Panel
Mm-hmm.
came out a quarter of a century ago,
Yep.
still not being in every single teacher education program.
Oh, I used to, when the panel report came out, the government was giving those out for free. The
Mhm.
summary one, the small summary, the skinny ones, and then the phone book size ones. And I would just order hundreds every semester, and UPS would deliver the cart to my office. Because after I left SU, I taught for 10 more years at another university. But every student got one. I'm like, and I don't care. Whatever you do, you keep this. This is a historical piece. I got A Nation at Risk, that book when I was in my undergrad. Still have that copy. So all of these pieces, anyway. And the National Reading Panel report has a lot of Dr. Blackman's study. Um, you know, her work got like a whole page dedicated to it in that report. Yeah, so I had to hide that at the university until I got tenured.
Yeah.
That little apple green book did not come out until I was tenured because that would have been frowned upon. And then that was another frustration seed, um, to have your own colleagues not accept, this work was rough. And, here I am teaching my course and I'm the professor on the line professor and then adjuncts teaching my course in any way they want. And that's not okay. This is the book, this is design, this is the syllabus, this is the course description. But, that beautiful intellectual freedom to do what you wish, um,
Yeah.
was really hard to swallow because to me, well, we know that universities lean very progressive, whatever. That's not the point. But the point is, I know a progressive group of teachers, faculty would not be okay with, a history professor across the way teaching um, certain things about history, any way they believe, or a science professor teaching, you know, evolution didn't exist and creationism instead, they'd go nuts. But I said, we're teaching lies when we talk of, encourage colored overlays and dyslexia is a myth and learning styles and all these things. This is not the truth. And there must be a charter at every university that when they're established to teach the truth.
There must be. And thinking about the medical field
Please, yes.
and the legal field and the outcry. I mean, being a classroom teacher, especially in the early years, takes a specific type of person who has passion and willingness and able to walk up the hill both ways,
I like that.
but not giving them everything that they need to be successful from day one
Yeah,
is cruel.
it is so cruel.
And recognizing the state of cognitive overload that most beginning teachers are in,
They're
setting them up
terrified.
for failure
Yeah,
because they don't have the foundational knowledge that they need to understand what reading is. I mean, phonological awareness, where does that come in?
yeah,
Right? In the
yeah.
teacher education program. And I know I was reviewing a program the other day for someone, and the lack of information on
Mm.
which is actually covered in the education degree, what
Hmm.
concepts are covered, and then recognizing the the beauty of having so many degrees feed into a teacher
Hmm.
education program is definitely a huge asset, but not
Right.
dealing appropriately with what needs to be covered during that program. And most programs are now condensed down to a year.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, Recognizing that, yes, you need to have some sort of English course or two. My first degree was in computer science, so I actually have to go back and do my English courses because when I did my teacher education program, computer science was not a teachable subject
Mhm.
um, in
We're
elementary year.
always dating ourselves, aren't we?
Yes. But I remember I took your basic first year English courses, and one was on literature and one was on composition, but not once was there any mention on words and morphological awareness
No,
and phonemic awareness.
no.
So if we're not expecting this knowledge going into the program, And then the program is just focusing what happens once the kids already know how to read.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Where are the teachers supposed to get this knowledge? I mean, I
That's what my point. That's the whole reason we exist, right? And
exactly.
let me tell you a little anecdote of, so I think it was 2011. Mm. The Society for the Scientific Studies of Reading that year, the conference was in Florida. So I was down there. I just had a poster session on teacher knowledge and belief. So when you train teachers, you impact their beliefs, or you provide them knowledge, and the knowledge changes their beliefs, and their beliefs change their practice, and the practice should change outcomes. So that kind of impact flow. And big surprise. That's that's what happens. There was nothing earth-shattering about my poster. And my colleague and I at the time, she was also a doc student at SU. We thought, oh, this will be great. We'll just stand in front of our poster for an hour and then we get to go outside. There's an open bar on the beach. We're in Florida. And we didn't get to go to that open bar or beach for another 2+ hours because we had, I can't believe it, like 3 people deep, this half moon of people saying, well, what do you mean teachers? I'm literally these words were being said. What do you mean teachers don't know about this research? To which I was like, wait, what am I missing? And then I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Where would they know it? Where? What? Tell me. It's not being taught in schools of ed. It's not being taught. It's not on billboards. It's not in any magazines or journals teachers get. And they don't have time to read them or money to subscribe to them. I don't understand where it would happen. Is it supposed to happen in their professional development? Because that's just Fountas and Pinnell, $100,000 grants to have, that happen. And it's just not. So they said, well, we need to start a journal. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And then that never happened. That's why the Reading League finally did start a journal, because that was like my first order of business is get that journal out. But yeah, so that was very eye-opening that the scientists were under the assumption that the knowledge was getting out. And I know why they were, because if you were to ever go to this conference, they have tons of poster sessions. It almost looks like they could fill a football field full of them, but they're broken up into many throughout the many days. And I remember once just having this warm, fuzzy feeling at one of them and thinking, like, look at all these brilliant up and coming researchers. They are going to go into universities and change things. And someone said, you don't think they're going to go and teach in a school of ed. They're going to teach in a psychology department or and I was like, oh, you're right. Because they wouldn't get hired, quantitative research and that kind of thing. Um, or, they would want to do a research agenda and have colleagues that want to do that with them. So I thought, oh my gosh. So the teachers will never come into contact with their knowledge, up and coming pre-service teachers. Woo!
That's the infuriation. And I know, like, I sit in on a lot of IEP meetings and the contradictory goals
Mhm.
uh, that I see in these documents that are supposed to be helping our most vulnerable students. And
Preach, yep.
then I was sitting in one of my own children's IEP meeting, and I wanted to work on the language, and I was talking about how they needed to work on understanding the syntax and semantics of the English language to support their writing development. And they looked at me like, well, you can't put that in an IEP. The teachers aren't going to know what you mean.
Oh,
And
eek, yeah.
I was okay. So if I go to a doctor, a medical doctor, and they don't know what hemoglobin is, I'm not going to go back.
Yeah.
But
Sorry
w-
you have to deal with this, Catherine. It's stinky as a mom. I it's hard. Everyone wants to do good by every child, and you've got parents that see what is going on, and then you have the education system that might not see it yet. But again, let's look at how
You know
far
what?
we've come.
We are making steps in the right direction, and I know that with my knowledge, my kids are going to be okay. What's not okay for me is the kids that aren't mine, and I only have three, and there's millions
Yeah.
of kids that need the support. And recognizing, like I was recently giving some professional development, and the teachers were interested in the topic, but the timing wasn't right. And
Mhm.
recognizing that, at the beginning of the year, when we have these pre-service days, the teachers are more concerned with getting their classroom organized.
They've got a thousand
Set
things to
up.
do, a thousand things to do.
And
And they're doing it on their own time, coming in and
on their own dime,
time in their own time and time. It's sad. It's not right. Oh God.
which is,
Oh.
I mean, kind of led you to where you are today.
Hmm.
And that journey of your story that I'd love to hear more about, those beginning days of the Reading League.
They were so exciting.
I
Oh,
bet.
I didn't sleep for days and days. It wasn't an all-nighter. It was an all-weeker, an all-two-weeker. Um, it's not possible to properly explain the energy. Hmm. Again, I'm going to use momentum again that hit minute one, because people were starving for the information and we were just going around giving it out for free. And so the word league, I would love everyone to understand the logo and the name means this is not just a group of researchers that are ivory tower wagging a finger. This is not parents, just parents that, you know, are like, oh, we can pigeonhole and paint with a wide brush. And a league is everybody. So we have, um, right out of the gate, the parents of the children I tutored were in, the colleagues I had it from time to time that got it, the teachers that I taught. I found all those teachers that had retired. I'm like, hey, on Facebook, anyone know where Jim Youngs went? He was a kindergarten teacher at such and such school, and I know he's retired. Does anyone know him? I found him, m- bald when we would meet at a library and see everybody again. So I've got this. I'm really good at one thing in my life, and it's bringing people together. I can really do a good job with that. And then watch the magic happen. So here we are, we're out of the gate. I don't know anything about I know very little about linguistics, but I know an expert. I know someone that's an expert in, birth through three, red flags, communications, sciences. I know an expert in this. So everyone go develop your dream 3 hours you want teachers to know of content. And then we would sit in a cafeteria in the metal chairs or the tables turning our heads to the side to look up on the stage, or the gymnasium chairs. And we never did it. We went from a library to an auditorium. We didn't want to be seen as belonging to one district so we had schools saying, when can the Reading League come here? We'll do your next September meeting. And there would be a sign out front, welcome Reading League, and food trucks. Oh gosh. And by the end of a little over 2 years, so the story goes, we had over 4,200 teachers who had come to at least one event. And that sounds wonderful. It is, it is, it is. But it was also making me go like, oh God, they missed the one on spelling. They missed the one on, um, you know, curriculum-based measurement. They missed the one on this one. So how do you tie it all together? So they were all recorded. They're still on our YouTube channel. They're really low quality. But there it is. The excitement was crazy, and people were coming from 6 hours away to get there for the start at 5 o'clock. No, excuse me. Yeah, five to eight, 6 to 9 p.m. And then they'd drive home. They'd go back to New York City, they'd go back to Ohio, they'd go back to Massachusetts, back to Connecticut, back to Pennsylvania, and say, we need one in our state. We need a reading league. I'm like, oh my God, I'm working as a professor full time, doing this on the side, still tutoring those kids.
Yeah.
Oh God, but I wasn't tired because it was working. And one of my favorite affirmations of that very early on was a district near here has four elementary schools,
Mhm.
one of which is in um, a higher needs area, and one is in a very privileged area. And that school, the was outperforming the Richie Rich school within a year. And we weren't even really working with that school directly. It was just the teachers. They were hogging all the free tickets we were giving out. Their whole staff was coming and then going back and reading and reading
The
and reading.
excitement that
Yeah.
can happen.
Oh,
I
so
know, like, going to these conferences is absolutely fabulous. Um,
oh, I just
and
got shivers.
as a parent or with young children, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get to sleep
Oh.
in bed with no children. I can get to sleep. And then you get there and you're like, I can't sleep. I'm just so ecstatic from everything I'm learning and happening. And
I know.
remember, like, I was sitting, when I just got to the hotel, I checked in and Matt Burns was sitting beside me and I was having a conversation with him. Like, oh my.
I know. It's so fun to be at those conferences because you don't even know who you're sitting next to. And then Matt didn't know you and now he does. So it's such a connection.
I don't think you're that's who I am, but that's
Oh
fine.
my gosh, stop. But that's the beautiful thing about it. The league grows at every one of those conferences. That just the connections are legendary. Like I'll never get over. I should write a book just on the connections and the work that's come out of some of those things and more research and alliances. Yeah, the conference is a little less than a month away, and I'm getting shivery about it because this
Then recognizing how those little one-off conversations in the line to get coffee between
yes.
like they just start rolling and rolling and these relationships develop and where we're at in society with technology and the ability to
Much
meet
has
with
changed in 9 years of conferences. We're just having AI topics now or things like that. It's AI is going to be what to watch out for, right? Oh, honestly, I know the whole people gather in me is getting giddy thinking about the conference coming up. So
well, and it's electric. And you guys
like
do
the
a
Woodstock of reading science, right?
exactly, and it's a fabulous opportunity to meet like-minded individuals. And every time I go to a conference, I need to start taking two suitcases, like one inside the other on the way there, so that on the way back, I'm not dinged
That's
so much
smart.
for all the books that I bring back.
Yeah, I know. We'll have our bookshop there for sure. And uh, so many good books are coming out now too. So many, too many. I've got four. Here's my backpack, and there's four in there
Yeah,
that I'm foolishly carrying around
you're gonna have time to finish them cover to
as
cover.
though I'll put, be at a red light or in the car wash or at a doctor's appointment to be able to get anywhere with it. But yeah, it's
So what are those four books?
oh, okay.
Give us a glimpse into your backpack and what?
Okay. Well, this is great. And oh, I left one on my nightstand and it's Mary Ellen McDonald or yeah, the one I post. Oh, here it is. Nope. Got it. More Than Words.
I saw that one. I was being bad.
Marilyn McDonald's. She's married to Mark Seidenberg, and they are two geniuses. And then Professional Learning to Redefined.
Mhm.
And evident this is written by Isabel Sawyer and Marisa Ramirez Stuckey, who is our new Stuckey, who's our new chief academic officer. So all of our staff is reading that together. And then Tim Shanahan's new book, Leveled Reading, Leveled Lives, How Students' Reading Achievement Has Been Held Back and What We Can Do About It. And I especially love the paper in this one. It feels like cellophane. It's amazing. Justice Seekers, Pursuing Equity in the Details of Teaching and Learning by Lacey Robinson, who will be at our conference. So this book will be available, and I think she might be able to sign some, or we'll have her sign them in advance. And
Fantastic.
wait, I have 5 books. So Fugitive Pedagogy. So I wanted to reread the beginning of this because I was talking with Zaretta Hammond this week, and she reminded me of the anecdote or the opening story, the case of Carter Woodson. So yeah, that's what I'm carrying around,
Fantastic.
like
Yeah,
a like
no,
a
it's good.
out of
Absolutely
where's
good.
my school locker?
Exactly.
I have to read books as books. I can't do them online or I can't do Kindle or things like that.
Well, and even audiobooks, uh,
Mm-mm.
it's not the same.
I I don't know. I, I'm embarrassed, but I can't concentrate during them. I love if you were with me and you said, "I want me to read aloud a chapter two," I would feel like a kid that's being read to at night and, very cared for and loved. I would love it. But audiobooks, my mind wanders too much, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do have a little touch of attention issues. No surprise.
So, where do you see the next chapter in your story taking you?
Well, we are working on next year's 10th anniversary doings, so we're looking forward to announce those to people. So,
Fantastic.
um, some big happenings at TRL to announce. But for those who don't know, and who knew, I didn't know when I started a nonprofit. I started a nonprofit because I just thought we wouldn't have enough money to pay sales tax on things. I just thought I didn't understand the nonprofit world. I thought nonprofits were things like the Red Cross or churches. I didn't know it was. So I didn't know you needed a mission statement, and that one rolled out of me like the very first thought I had became our mission statement to advance the awareness, the understanding, and the use of evidence-aligned reading instruction. So, but that word to increase, to advance the awareness might be kind of done, right? Like people are aware that there is a science of reading. That was a big, you know,
When?
win, big first step. So we are definitely going to be focusing on implementation and um, building those systems and that are the workarounds of, wraparounds for the schools.
Well, that
Oh,
implementation fidelity piece is huge.
yep.
And
Yep.
I remember going in as a research assistant, and watching lessons of these fabulous programs, but the 1 day Pro D the teacher got on it wasn't enough for them to really
Oh,
understand how to use the program effectively.
oh,
And then seeing it used in a not in the way that you're going to get the best results in your
wow.
classroom. And then looking at the results of the post test and being like, well, so it's not what it was promising.
Right.
Then recognizing, well, of course it's not because it's not being used how it's supposed to be used. And that's
Yes.
where we need to get it so the support is there for the implementation fidelity so we can get those same results that we're seeing in these papers where the research assistants are doing the instruction and the support.
Yeah, that would be nice. I know just even teaching basic phonics elements and building a lesson And then, when I was teaching my grad students how to do these interventions and writing a sample lesson and coming back, maybe just for example, the silent E. Well, there's the word glove. It doesn't, seemed like a good word to choose, but it doesn't follow so
Yeah,
these
the
little
letter
nuances,
dived up
I remember,
silent
yeah,
T.
I remember Benita Blackman watching me,
Yeah.
uh, because I also worked as a tutor in that intervention study. So those two of those kids in that Shaywitz book, I taught to read. And I remember I had the word car in there for CVC. And she corrected me and I was mortified. But, you know, I was new at it. So you make those little mistakes. It takes a long time.
But
Uh,
even recognizing that experts aren't
mhm.
perfect 100% of the time.
No, 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 absolutely not. So
There's room for error and learning from it. Like, I still work with students.
ongoing. Yep, ongoing. There's no such thing as a one and done that's going to fix anything. Obviously, I used to do during the time of No Child Left Behind and the panel report, I was getting hired to go to schools and teach special ed teams about phonological awareness. Benita Blackman's program, Road to the Code, um, was it wasn't based on the evidence, it was the evidence. It was the lessons, the 44 lessons that the scientific study participants got. So, uh, boy, I was, making some pretty good money at the time because schools were flush with that grant money. And I remember saying, at the end, like, so any questions? They're like, this sounds great, but we don't know where we're going to find time to fit it in. Like, oh, okay, so I got to shift what I'm saying to be, first talk to the admins and say, these are 20-minute lessons daily for, X amount of time. What can go? How about this ineffective here, 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 here? And that was too much to ask. Everything became additive for a really long time, right? Adding on an RTI teacher, adding on an RTI 45 minutes for everybody, adding a whole menu of interventions you could choose from, or adding a lot of assessments, but doing nothing with the data. Everything became additive on top of balanced literacy. It was like we were putting fresh fruits and vegetables on top of Twinkies and beer.
Well, and looking at, my PhD research was in um, additional language learning and looking at the difference between additive bilingualism and subtractive bilingualism.
There you have it. Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
are
Yep.
we benefiting the reading instruction, or are we just hindering it because there's
Yeah.
too much that we're getting these kids at a place of cognitive overload?
Perfect parallel. Yep. Wow.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to our next conversation.
We will get back to it.